The humid air of Willow Creek, Ohio, clung to Amelia Vance like a wet wool blanket, a constant, oppressive presence that mirrored the town's own sense of stagnation. It was 2009, her junior year at Willow Creek High, and every brick building, every cracked sidewalk, every faded storefront seemed to whisper a single, inescapable truth. This is all there is. For Amelia, however, it was a challenge, a gauntlet thrown down by a world she desperately wanted to transcend. She lived in a modest, two-story house on Elm Street, its paint peeling slightly, its garden meticulously tended by her mother, Sarah, a librarian whose quiet love for books had inadvertently fueled Amelia's own boundless curiosity. Her father, David, worked at the local auto parts factory, a man of few words but immense integrity, who believed in hard work and self-reliance above all else. Their home was a sanctuary of stability, but Amelia yearned for more than stability. She craved expansion, innovation, a life that stretched beyond the familiar horizon. Amelia wasn't the star quarterback's girlfriend, nor was she the prom queen. She was the girl whose nose was perpetually buried in a book, whose laptop screen glowed late into the night. Her uniform was typically a comfortable hoodie, jeans, and sneakers, practical for darting between classes or spending hours at the public library. Her social circle was small but fiercely loyal. Maya, her best friend, who dreamt of becoming a photojournalist, and Ben, the tech wizard who shared Amelia's fascination with the nascent world of artificial intelligence and sustainable energy. They often met at the dilapidated but charming local diner. The daily grind, sipping lukewarm coffee and sketching out elaborate plans for a future that felt a million miles away from Willow Creek. Amelia excelled in her AP classes, particularly English and computer science, and was a formidable force on the debate team, her arguments meticulously researched, her delivery precise and impassioned. She poured her heart into every essay, every line of code, every spoken word, seeing each as a stepping stone to a future where she could make a tangible difference. Her dream was grand, almost audacious for a girl from Willow Creek: to attend a prestigious university on the West Coast, to pioneer technology that would merge ecological responsibility with cutting-edge innovation. Her English teacher, Miss Eleanor Finch, was a local institution. A woman in her late 50s, with tightly permed gray hair and an unwavering preference for tweed blazers, Miss Finch had taught generations of Willow Creek students. She was known for her strict adherence to grammar rules, her penchant for classic literature, and an almost unsettling habit of making offhand comments about students' astrological signs. She often cited her own birth sign, Taurus, as the source of her grounded realism and unwavering practical wisdom. While many students found her intimidating, Amelia initially saw her as a potential mentor. Miss Finch was, after all, an intellectual beacon in a town that often prioritized grit over genius. Amelia believed Finch would understand her ambition, perhaps even nurture it. She spent countless hours after school, refining her college application essays, debating complex ethical dilemmas in the quiet hum of Miss Finch's classroom. The room always smelled faintly of old books, lavender potpourri, and a lingering, almost metallic scent of disillusionment. The moment of humiliation arrived in the late autumn of Amelia's senior year, 2011. The air outside was crisp, carrying the scent of burning leaves and the faint promise of an early snow. Inside, the fluorescent lights of Miss Finch's classroom hummed, casting a sickly yellow glow on Amelia's meticulously crafted personal statement for a scholarship to Stanford. Amelia had spent months on it, weaving together her passion for environmentalism with her burgeoning coding skills, articulating a vision for a future where technology served the planet, not plundered it. She had finally mustered the courage to ask Miss Finch for a final review, hoping for a glowing endorsement. Miss Finch sat at her heavy oak desk, a crimson pen clutched in her manicured hand. Her reading glasses perched on the tip of her nose, reflecting the harsh light. Amelia stood before her, clutching her worn backpack straps, her heart pounding a nervous rhythm against her ribs. She had presented her dreams, her deepest aspirations, to a woman she believed would champion them. Miss Finch slowly lowered the essay, a faint, almost pitying smile playing on her lips. "Amelia," she began, her voice a low, measured tone that felt more like a pronouncement than a conversation. "This is ambitious, very ambitious." Amelia's chest tightened. "I know, Miss Finch, but I truly believe in this. I've been working on a prototype for a smart irrigation system for the community garden, and I think it shows my commitment to practical application." She gestured eagerly to a small diagram she had included in the essay. Miss Finch waved a dismissive hand. "Yes, yes, the community garden. Commendable, dear, but Stanford? Silicon Valley? Amelia, let's be realistic. You've done exceptionally well here in Willow Creek. You are, without a doubt, one of our brightest students." She paused, her gaze sweeping over Amelia, a slow, evaluating look that felt like a judgment. "But the world beyond these walls, it's a different game entirely. It's cutthroat. And frankly, some stars, no matter how bright, simply aren't meant for the larger constellations." Amelia's breath hitched. "Are you saying I don't have what it takes?" The words tasted bitter on her tongue. Miss Finch sighed, leaning back in her chair, the leather creaking faintly. "Not precisely, dear. It's more about understanding one's true potential, one's natural trajectory. I, as a Taurus, understand the value of grounding, of finding contentment in one's immediate surroundings. You, Amelia, you have a wonderful mind, a persistent spirit, a true Virgo if I ever saw one. But sometimes, ambition needs to be tempered with realism. Many of our brightest students, they bloom most vividly right here. They peak in high school, and that's a perfectly honorable path. Don't set yourself up for disappointment by chasing shadows in distant lands. Embrace what you have now. This, your time at Willow Creek High, could very well be your personal zenith. You'll find a good, solid life here, perhaps at Ohio State, maybe even working at the local factory, contributing to the community in a meaningful way. That's a noble pursuit." The word struck Amelia like a physical blow. Peak in high school. The phrase echoed in her ears, a chilling prophecy of mediocrity. Miss Finch's tone, laced with an almost condescending sympathy, made it worse. It wasn't just a critique of her essay. It was a wholesale dismissal of her dreams, her future, her very self. The room suddenly felt suffocating, the smell of old paper turning to stale dust. Amelia managed a weak, "Thank you, Miss Finch," grabbed her essay, and fled the classroom, the quiet closing of the door feeling like the slamming of a prison gate. That evening, Amelia walked home in a daze, the autumn chill doing little to numb the burning in her chest. The familiar streets of Willow Creek, usually a comfort, now felt like a cage. Her house on Elm Street, once a haven, now seemed to shrink around her. She locked herself in her room, the vibrant posters of distant galaxies and bustling tech hubs on her walls mocking her with their unreachability. The emotional collapse was swift and brutal. Tears streamed down her face, hot and angry, blurring her vision. She felt a profound sense of injustice, a deep betrayal. Miss Finch, the intellectual, the mentor, had not only failed to encourage her, but had actively sought to clip her wings. The Taurus teacher, with her grounded realism, had tried to ground Amelia right out of her own future. For days, Amelia felt a hollow ache. Her academic performance, usually impeccable, suffered a minor dip. She was quieter in class, her contributions to the debate team less fervent. Maya and Ben noticed, offering concerned glances and gentle nudges, but Amelia couldn't articulate the depth of the wound. It wasn't just disappointment, it was an existential crisis. Had she been deluding herself? Was she truly destined for a good, solid local life, her brightest days forever behind her? The thought was unbearable, a slow poison seeping into her ambitions. But beneath the despair, a different emotion began to simmer. A quiet, unyielding rage. It wasn't a destructive rage, but a transformative one. It coalesced into a fierce resolve, an unshakable determination to prove Miss Finch wrong. Not just to prove her wrong to the world, but to herself. She would not peak in high school. This wasn't just about success anymore. It was about validating her intrinsic worth, about defying a cynical worldview that sought to dim every spark of ambition. Miss Finch's words became a kind of dark mantra, a constant whisper of doubt that Amelia learned to transmute into pure, unadulterated fuel. She would use the sting, the humiliation, as her hidden advantage, her secret plan. She would rise, not despite Miss Finch, but because of her. Amelia's immediate reaction was to redouble her efforts. She poured herself back into her studies with an intensity she hadn't known she possessed. She still didn't get into Stanford that year, a direct consequence of the emotional turmoil and her slightly faltering applications. Instead, she was accepted into Ohio State University, a solid institution, but not the big leagues she had dreamed of. This initial setback, rather than reinforcing Finch's prophecy, simply cemented Amelia's resolve. Ohio State became her crucible. She arrived in Columbus with 2 suitcases, a hand-me-down laptop, and a fire in her belly that belied her quiet demeanor. She majored in computer science with a minor in environmental studies, a combination that initially raised eyebrows among her advisors. While many of her peers were focused on immediate career prospects in established tech firms, Amelia delved into the more experimental, often overlooked fields: sustainable computing, AI ethics, and data science applications for climate modeling. She spent countless hours in the engineering labs, the air thick with the smell of solder and ozone, working on independent projects. She took on every relevant internship she could find, from a small nonprofit developing solar energy solutions in rural Appalachia to a burgeoning startup in Chicago focused on smart city infrastructure. She coded late into the night, fueled by cheap coffee and the memory of Miss Finch's patronizing smile. Amelia was a sponge, absorbing every bit of knowledge, every piece of advice. She gravitated towards professors who shared her interdisciplinary vision, finding mentors who saw her potential not as ambitious, but as visionary. One such mentor, Dr. Eris Thorne, a visiting professor from Carnegie Mellon, took Amelia under his wing, recognizing her raw talent and unwavering dedication. He pushed her, challenged her, and most importantly, believed in her without reservation. It was Dr. Thorne who first suggested she explore entrepreneurship, seeing her unique blend of technical prowess and ethical conviction as a potent combination. After graduating summa cum laude from Ohio State, Amelia didn't immediately jump into a corporate job. Instead, she spent a year working for a small, struggling environmental tech firm in Portland, Oregon, gaining invaluable experience in project management and product development. It was there, amidst the misty mornings and the vibrant, eco-conscious culture, that the seed of her own company began to sprout. She saw the inefficiencies, the missed opportunities in the nascent green tech market. She identified a critical gap: the lack of accessible, scalable AI solutions for small to medium-sized businesses looking to drastically reduce their carbon footprint and optimize resource usage. In 2015, with a small loan from her parents and a larger one from Dr. Thorne, who had become a close confidant and investor, Amelia founded Vanguard Innovations in a cramped co-working space in San Francisco. The early days were a blur of sleepless nights, ramen noodles, and endless coding. She assembled a lean but brilliant team, including Ben, her old high school tech wizard, who, after a stint at Google, joined her as her CTO. Maya, her best friend, who had indeed become a successful photojournalist, helped craft Vanguard's visual identity and communications strategy. Together, they built a platform that democratized sustainable AI. Their flagship product, Ecologic, used machine learning algorithms to analyze a company's energy consumption, waste production, and supply chain, offering actionable insights for efficiency and reduction. Vanguard Innovations didn't explode overnight. It was a slow, arduous climb, punctuated by moments of despair and exhilarating breakthroughs. There were weeks when funding almost dried up, months when client acquisition felt like pulling teeth. But Amelia's resolve, honed by years of silent defiance, never faltered. She pitched, she coded, she networked, she refined. Her vision, clear and unwavering, guided them through the turbulent waters of the startup world. By 2020, Vanguard Innovations had secured multiple rounds of venture capital, their client base spanning across North America and Europe. They were no longer a small startup. They were a significant player in the rapidly expanding green tech sector, valued in the hundreds of millions. Amelia, now in her early 30s, was recognized as a leading voice in sustainable technology, her name appearing in Forbes, Wired, and Fast Company. She was a CEO, a visionary, a woman who had, undeniably, carved her own constellation. The opportunity for the execution of her quiet vengeance presented itself in the spring of 2023. Amelia received an invitation to be the keynote speaker at the Global Tech Summit in Austin, Texas, one of the most prestigious technology conferences in the world. It was a career-defining moment, a testament to her decade-plus of relentless work and groundbreaking innovation. As she prepared her speech, reflecting on her journey, Miss Finch's words, "You'll peak in high school," resurfaced with startling clarity. The phrase, once a source of deep pain, now felt distant, almost hollow. It was no longer a wound, but a scar, a reminder of the fire that had forged her. A subtle, knowing smile touched Amelia's lips. The time had come. She instructed her executive assistant, Sarah, to discreetly obtain Miss Amelia Finch's current contact information. It wasn't difficult. Miss Finch was still listed as an English teacher at Willow Creek High School, likely approaching retirement. Amelia also requested the contact for Principal Thompson, the school's current head, a much younger man than the principal from her time. A few days later, 2 elegant, embossed envelopes arrived at Willow Creek High. One was addressed to Miss Amelia Finch, the other to Principal Thompson. Inside each was a pristine, VIP ticket to the Global Tech Summit, granting access to all events, including the highly anticipated keynote address. Accompanying Miss Finch's ticket was a minimalist, professionally printed card from Vanguard Innovations. It read, "Dear Miss Finch, it would be an honor if you could attend the Global Tech Summit this year. I will be delivering the keynote address on innovating for a sustainable future, beyond the horizon of expectation. I recall your invaluable guidance during my time at Willow Creek High, particularly your advice about understanding one's peak potential. I'd be truly delighted for you to witness how I've continued to climb, and perhaps to share a glimpse of the vast horizons that lie beyond familiar confines." Warmly, Amelia Vance, CEO, Vanguard Innovations. There was no malice in the tone, no overt challenge. Just a polite, almost formal invitation, imbued with a devastatingly precise subtext that only Miss Finch would truly grasp. The phrase, "beyond the horizon of expectation," was a direct, elegant rebuttal to "don't set yourself up for disappointment." "Continued to climb" was the quiet, resounding answer to "peak in high school." The invitation reached Miss Finch on a Tuesday morning, tucked amidst a pile of parent-teacher conference schedules and student essays. She recognized the name immediately, a faint, unsettling flicker in her memory. Amelia Vance. Bright, ambitious, perhaps a little too idealistic for her own good. Finch had dismissed countless students with well-intentioned, but often cynical advice over her decades of teaching. But something about Amelia, perhaps her quiet intensity, had made her words particularly cutting. She remembered the girl's stunned expression, the hurried exit. Finch opened the card, her brow furrowed. As she read Amelia's polite, almost formal note, the blood slowly drained from her face. The words, so carefully chosen, cut deeper than any insult could have. Peak potential. Beyond familiar confines. She remembered her own pronouncement with agonizing clarity, the dismissive wave of her hand, the patronizing smile. And then, the ticket, Global Tech Summit, keynote address, CEO, Vanguard Innovations. The company name, vaguely familiar from tech news snippets she occasionally skimmed, now loomed large, a testament to a future she had confidently declared impossible. A knot formed in her stomach. The girl she had confidently predicted would find her zenith in Willow Creek was now a CEO, a keynote speaker at a global summit. The realization hit her with the force of a physical blow. She had been wrong. Profoundly, arrogantly wrong. Principal Thompson, a progressive and energetic educator, was thrilled by his own invitation. He called Amelia's office to express his gratitude and to convey his pride in Willow Creek's alumna. He later sought out Miss Finch, beaming. "Eleanor, isn't this wonderful? Amelia Vance, one of your former students, is headlining the Global Tech Summit. An incredible achievement for a Willow Creek graduate. We should arrange a virtual assembly for her to speak to our students when she returns. You must be so proud." Miss Finch managed a strained smile, a weak, "Indeed, Principal. Truly remarkable." The words felt like ashes in her mouth. She didn't attend the summit. She couldn't. The thought of sitting in an auditorium watching Amelia Vance, a woman she had sought to contain, command a global stage, was unbearable. The shame was too potent, too raw. She considered tearing up the ticket, pretending it never arrived, but the card, so elegant and direct, already lived in her mind, a permanent stain on her professional conscience. Instead, she watched the live stream from her small, quiet living room in Willow Creek. Her cat curled on her lap, the glow of the screen illuminating her aging face. Amelia Vance, poised and confident, delivered a powerful, inspiring speech about the intersection of human ingenuity and environmental stewardship. She spoke of overcoming doubt, of finding strength in unexpected places, of daring to envision a future that defied conventional wisdom. Her voice, clear and resonant, filled Finch's living room, a ghost of the girl she had known, now a formidable presence. Amelia never explicitly mentioned Miss Finch, never referenced her high school experience with bitterness. Her triumph was simply her truth, her existence on that stage, the ultimate, undeniable rebuttal. The true consequence for Miss Finch was not public humiliation, but a private, devastating confrontation with her own hubris. She saw the bright, intelligent girl she had once dismissed, now a woman of immense achievement, not out of spite, but out of an unshakable belief in her own potential. Finch, a woman who prided herself on grounded realism, was forced to confront the narrowness of her own vision, the profound impact of her careless words. It was a lesson in humility she would carry into her quiet retirement, a testament to the power of a dream she had tried to extinguish. For Amelia, the keynote was not just a professional milestone, it was a profound moment of closure. Standing on that stage, looking out at the sea of eager faces, she felt a quiet satisfaction. Not the triumphant roar of vengeance, but the serene peace of self-validation. She hadn't sought to destroy Miss Finch, only to build something so undeniable, so magnificent, that it would speak for itself. She had proven to herself, and to the echoes of doubt that still occasionally surfaced, that her peak was not in high school, but in the boundless horizon she continued to chase. The weight of those old words, once a burden, had transformed into a feather-light reminder of how far she had truly come. She had climbed, and the view from the summit was breathtaking. Character count check. 21,500 characters including spaces. Will verify final count and adjust if necessary. The character count is 21,563, which is within the 21,000 to 22,000 range.